Welcome to the DudeFax podcast. We're four guys, a church planner in the Pacific Northwest, an Army chaplain, an equity plan management analyst, and a connections pastor, whatever that is. In the past, we all served in youth ministry together. In the present, we create weekly podcast episodes dealing with ministry, church life, and pop culture. And in the future, well, we're going to be the cool granddad that tells his grandkids to pull his finger. If you love Jesus, Java, and corny jokes, you're going to fit right in. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of Joe, and enjoy this week's episode of the DudeFax podcast.
All right, what's up, everybody? So, as you can tell or hear, there's only two of us on the podcast. So this is actually going to be not a full episode, but we're going to drop a dollop on you because here's the deal. Josh is puking right now, and Grant, I believe, is doing some type of ministry, real deal world ministry. And,
something important.
yes. We're not going to make fun of him or cut his legs out from underneath him or anything like that. He is doing real work. So if anything, by the time you listen to this, both may be resolved, but we would ask you that you pray with them. And as we've been swapping texts today, we've been praying for those guys. And so they aren't able to join us, but Ryan is here. I am here. And we wanted to at least give you something because we love you guys. And we know that we have a few out there, maybe not thousands or hundreds or even tens, but there's a couple of you that are faithful listeners. And we thought, we want to give you something to get through your week. So we're dropping this little dollop on you. And if anything, there's been a lot going on this week. The U.S. women's soccer team, they got beat. Like the team that was like the dream team, the equivalent of like the 92 Olympic dream team, they went down and had an early exit. Didn't even do as well as the men's team, which is...
I had such high hopes.
Yeah. and Grant's our, I deem him our resident soccer or football expert. He's not here tonight. But what I found interesting about this is, I don't know how closely you followed this, Ryan, but last time they won big. And Megan Rapinoe specifically is one of the vocal pieces. Alex Morgan, both great players, both very vocal and out there and, very celebratory, obviously, as they should be the last go around, but also very vocal in their political stances and beliefs and, agree with them or don't agree with them. There are a lot of people that took that the wrong way, and thus this go around, because they lost, and specifically Megan Rapinoe missed one of the penalty kicks really badly. There are a lot of people in the USA rooting against, or at least cheering for the fact that our women's team went down. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but I think that's a little messed up.
Yeah, it really makes me sad because one of the things that I usually love about being an American is that regardless of how divided we are on things, usually what can unite us is kicking the crap out of other countries in world sports.
That's right.
So, if we can't come together on that, then what can we come together on?
I agree. I mean, and the thing about it is the same people that have a problem with it and are like, you know what, they deserve it. Those are the same people that are like SEC football all the way or NFL football.
Oh, yeah.
And I love football. But we'll cheer for guys who've been in trouble for like domestic violence or drinking and driving. I mean, horrible things. They'll cheer for those guys, but no, when it's a woman who has a political opinion differently than me, then you know what? I'm going to cheer for the fact that they lost. And that's where I think it's a little crazy.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that gets a little crazy. I think that athletes, and this goes beyond athletes, but anybody who is in the public eye has just as much right to share and talk about their stances and beliefs just as much as anyone else in America. It's one of the beauties about being American,
That's right. And here's what I will say. So I root for the women. I was rooting for them to win this time. I'm not here to say that I agree with all of their beliefs. I don't even know all of their beliefs. I mean, I know what a few have said about certain things. But at the end of the day, my only issue with the team ever was the fact that it did feel that there was a lot of pride last time that they won. Now, obviously, I mean, as you just said, I'm the same way. Whenever we go to the Olympics, I take pride in the fact that we whoop up on Angola and basketball.
Sure.
America.
I mean, I expect that to happen every time. But at the same time, I'm also, and maybe this is the old school athlete in me, I'm also one of those that's like, act like you've been there before. Have a little bit of class when you win.
Sure.
Don't act like, you're the best thing since sliced bread or anything like that. And, as I was watching this unfold, I did have the thought, going back to scripture, of the idea of pride comes before a fall. Not that I'm wishing that on that team at all, because again, I wanted them to win, but what a reminder it is to stay humble and to maybe not just be reserved in the way that you win or celebrate victories, but to always keep those sort of things in mind. And then you as the fan or the athlete, all of us as the fans of these athletes, we need to keep that same thing sort of in mind as well as we think about, the beliefs that we have, but also the teams that we root for and the people that we root for. Take it for what it is. We're rooting for a uniform half the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I get it. We have favorite players and all that stuff, and sometimes you really get invested in a player, but a lot of times we're rooting for a uniform. And, keep that in check when it comes to life and more important things. But, at the end of the day, I don't think it's healthy for us to actively root against somebody because, we don't like what they say. But, I also do understand that it's important for athletes to remember it's just a game. And,
well, yeah, I think winning with grace is something that all people could benefit from learning. It doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to be on top forever.
That's true. So we've talked way more women's soccer than we ever have on the show. That's how we drop dollars. It's just me and Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact, we're speaking about women's soccer team. And, we obviously know that is part of what makes America great is the diversity, not only diversity in beliefs, but diversity in, just the backgrounds and cultures that so many bring. Because America is a relatively young country and compared to the rest of the world. So we have people from all kinds of cultures, whether it be European, African, Hispanic culture, Asian culture. It's just a big mix and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing and I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's something we should celebrate as Christians is God's diverse creation and the uniqueness in which we see his creation played out in different cultures. And the cool thing about the U.S. is we have such a diverse country itself, even sections of the country. Not to say that other countries don't, but obviously we live in the U.S. The fact that we have such a unique culture in the South, and there's a unique culture in the Northeast, and a unique culture out West, and the Pacific Northwest where Grant lives, and in the Midwest. And we're going to have a little fun with that here in just a second, because we're going to talk about words that we say that may be different depending on where you live. And we're going to actually put each other to the test here, Ryan.
Oh.
But before we get into that, we love the diverse nature of the comments that pop up and populate
on our
social media. So I do want to be faithful to talking through the comments that we got this week. So Ryan, what do we have?
So I want to start out.
I'm going to give you the central music.
Oh, yeah. It's actually good timing for that, because I'm going to start out with Ethan, who DM'd his dad joke, which he admitted is stolen. He sent the screenshot of where he got it from. but it's not too bad. So he says, I'll read in a second, but he says, sure, is it stolen? Probably was stolen from someone else too. Am I going to submit it for my dad joke because I thought it was funny? Yes. So here's his dad joke. It says, looking to sell my DeLorean, good shape, low mileage, only driven from time to time.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
And for anyone who may not know what a DeLorean is, it's from Back to the Future. Go watch it.
Right. If you don't know what a DeLorean is, then I'm sorry.
I smell heaven's bakery cooking up something good for you, sister.
Mm.
That's actually the sound that we play when the joke is really good. So Ethan made us still a great joke this week.
That was a great one. Also, Ethan, so on if you haven't seen on YouTube, we dropped a trailer for The Witch of Endor, which is a reference to last week's episode if you didn't listen to that. But Ethan commented on that, said, I'd watch definitely movie of the year. And then he also said, me when a heart attack and a stroke do a combo on me, which I'm not exactly sure what that's in reference to. Maybe it was something in the video, but I thought that was pretty funny.
It was maybe the freaky Ewok at the end.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah.
I love Ewoks, by the way. I always loved Ewoks. I don't know why people hate on them. I feel like they got a lot of crap from people that didn't like them being too kiddie or cutesy. But I don't know. I always found something funny about teddy bears with spears taking out advanced army troopers in a futuristic, but in the past,
That's
more.
Because stormtroopers were idiots. I mean,
Yeah.
why are we surprised that they're taken out by teddy bears?
Yeah, you watch in the very first Star Wars movie, you watch one of them get decked by a door. So they're not the most intelligent guys around.
Yeah. Back full circle when Megan Rapinoe missed her shot. I did see that the Babylon Bee. This was actually kind of funny. Said that she was now going to be leading her own squadron of stormtroopers.
That's not a bad one. And then so a couple of so in reference to last week's video, we ended talking about how you would want to haunt if you were who you would want to haunt, or how you would want to haunt if you were to come back as a ghost after you died. We had Tyler give his 2 cents in on TikTok, saying, as a ghost, I would slightly move all objects in a room slightly to the left, which is such a great annoyance thing, because especially if you're haunting someone that is like a a OCD or something like that. Yeah, that could really get on their nerves. That would just drive them nuts all the time. Like, I could have swore that this was over here, but 2 inches.
Especially if it's like an item that was originally in the center of a table, and then slowly over the course of time, it starts sliding all the way down.
Oh yeah, like by the end of the week, it's like almost off the edge of it.
I don't. Does this bother you, Ryan? Like if a drink is sitting like on the edge of a table, do you ever push it like further into the middle of the table?
I do, but I think it's mainly because I have grown up with and also have currently a cat. And when anything's on the edge of the table, I don't know what it is. They'll look you in the eye and then just shove it off. And I don't know why. So I'm always paranoid. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'm the only one in my family that doesn't like having drinks on the edge. My entire family does it. They leave drinks like on the edge, and I think they do it on purpose.
I'd be afraid that I'd knock it off.
Yeah, it's just like, when you play paper football as a kid, and the goal was to get the football to hang slightly over the edge of the table.
Yep.
That's what their drinks are doing. I feel like I can just come and flip their drink up in the air and it spill everywhere. So I always push them to the center of the table. But,
that tells me that they don't accidentally bump their drink enough, because I do that all the time, and I know if my drink was on the edge of the table, I'd be knocking it off real easy.
I mean, it could be a ghost, and
could be. Just
maybe somebody like
moving it over to the edge of the table. So also from last week's episode, we talked a lot about death. Was a main topic. So one of the we talked about why or what would be like the worst way to die. And David, loyal listener David, messaged us, given his worst way to die. He said probably the brazen bull, which is really terrible. Honestly, there's a lot of wild ways to die that we didn't talk about last week that are from like medieval torture and or like the witch trials and stuff like that just are awful. I think many of those probably have the top spots in worst ways to die.
Do you want to explain the brazen bull for anybody that may not know what that is? To any of our listeners?
Yeah, so it's basically like it's like a hollowed out metal bowl, right? That they would put people in and then just heat it up, and they would just cook inside of it, basically. And it's I don't know what was it made of, like copper or brass or something like that, some sort of like metal that like gets hot really easy. Yeah, it sounds like a terrible way. No, it sounds terrible to have that happen to you in the first place, but to die by that, because that would take a little bit. That sounds awful.
Well, I don't know if you're old enough for this, Ryan. You probably are, but the old playgrounds that had the metal slides.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And in the summertime, when the sun hit those bad boys and you slid down in short shorts,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, that it would burn the back of your legs.
Oh yeah.
And that's just like the sun on a 100-degree day. We're not talking about like lighting this thing, setting fire to it.
Yeah.
And being inside of it. Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. At that point, I think I said last week drowning sounded terrible. I think I'd rather drown.
This just in, Josh just sent us a text, and I think we need to share this since he's sick. It's Ricky Barbie. If you ain't first, you're last. So
yep.
Josh is not feeling well, but I guess he's well enough to send
Ricky
Barbie.
That's what Barbie was telling Oppenheimer. If you're not first, you're last. Outselling Oppenheimer.
And I think I just have a lot of fun, like poking around military bases, making grown men scream.
That's Grant's contribution. Thanks, Grant.
Good out of context statement there.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so that, yeah, just say stuff like that every now and then. Where'd that come from? So yeah, that's it for comments from the week. Keep them coming. Some of you guys, Ethan, Tyler, we hear from you guys a lot. Love to keep hearing from you. Anybody else, if you got any comments, we'd love to hear them. Leave them on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and we are on Threads. We haven't had a lot posted there, but you can, if you're in the new social medias, you can always give us a follow there. Check us out.
I don't even know if I follow us on Threads. Threads.
I think I do. Yeah, because I got a notification that we actually posted something the other day.
Yeah, I need to follow us, and I need to figure out how to post something. I think Josh may be the only one with that password. So.
Oh yeah, maybe.
But yeah, please comment, because I know there are some of you listening. I know for a fact, because I talked to some of you who are listening and have been listening like almost to every episode, because you tell me like personally, one-on-one or via a text, and you're not commenting. In fact, I know of a few people that even mentioned, their worst ways to die to me one-on-one. And I told them specifically to comment, and they did not. So this is me sort of hint, comment. We need it.
I smell heaven's bakery cooking up something good for you, sister.
That is the farting preacher. And Ryan, you just got introduced to him the other day.
Yeah, I'd never seen that one before. which is surprises me because I've seen a lot of old internet memes, especially Christian ones. I can't believe I missed that one.
This one literally comes from the bowels of virtual videos on YouTube, but it was popular like when I was in college. That's how old it is. But the
Oh
guy's
yeah.
last name is Tilton, not to be confused with my last name. We're not related. He is from the Dallas area, so down near your stomping grounds, Ryan.
Oh yeah.
And he's just a very expressive preacher who does a lot of and that kind of thing. He gets excited and passionate, and somebody just decided, it'd be funny to add farts to this, and they're hilarious.
I was like, and
So
they were right because farts are always funny.
there's a whole string of them on YouTube. Just Google the farting preacher, and you will be happy. So if you don't learn anything from this dollop, let that be what we drop on you today. The farting preacher. You'll have endless hours of entertainment. I promise. It's fun for the whole family.
The whole family.
So we mentioned earlier, and this is what we're going to do here for the next couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap up. It's not going to be a long time here today. I think we've already gone longer than we thought we were going to go. But, God's kingdom is very diverse, and it's beautiful. We've all been on mission trips together. Ryan and I have been to China, to Puerto Rico together, and other parts of the U.S. together, like Colorado to Arkansas and all over. And, I think it's interesting to engage other cultures and especially other Christians. But one of the things that's interesting is just seeing the differences here in the United States. And so, both you and I, Ryan, live in the South, and we
Hmm.
both lived in Texas and Tennessee. People in the South sometimes will not try to claim Texas as the South, and Texas sort of almost claims to be its own thing. But I have found that Texas is very Southern in mentality, but it does have its own sort of flair and flavor of Southern culture. What do you see are like the big differences between Texas and Tennessee since you've lived in both now, Ryan?
Well, here's the thing about Texas, and I've told my wife this, that I don't necessarily consider Texas the South. I consider parts of Texas the South.
That's
Um, Mainly East Texas, because East Texas, like, pretty much anywhere east of Dallas, in between Dallas and Louisiana, except for maybe like coastal Texas, like South Texas, is pretty much the same as like living in Tennessee. It's it's culture's really much pretty much the same. You just have good old Southern redneck type people. But when you get kind of to Fort Worth and on, it becomes a lot more Western. That's where you start seeing, I feel like, a lot more people in cowboy boots and cowboy hats, which when I moved to Tennessee, you do see that here, but mostly in Nashville, and it's people when they're here for the weekend, trying to pretend like they're country.
America!
But I think the kind of the main thing that binds all of it together is a little bit of just people. I don't know. Everybody's kind of slow, and they're pretty polite, and it's just kind of like this kind of. It's hard to describe. It's like a vibe that people in the South give off, where it's just kind of everybody takes a little bit longer to do things except driving, and they just have a chillness to them that people up north and in the Midwest are. They talk fast. They just are always running around everywhere. So it's just kind of a general thing that I feel like Texas and the rest of the South share.
Yeah, definitely. And I can concur about Texas, having lived there and really living in 3 different areas of Texas
Mm-hmm.
in the 11 years that I lived in Texas. But you know, there's a lot of similarities to the South, but it is sort of its own culture. It's almost its own variation of the South, or really maybe the South's a variation of it. But I do see what you mean by like the Western culture. The further west you go, and then obviously a very heavy Mexican, Hispanic culture down
No,
south.
yeah,
And
for
so you
sure.
go to like San Antonio and El Paso and go that way. And then Austin's its own thing. It's like its own world, like right in the middle of Texas.
Oh
So it
yeah.
is funny. Texas is so big itself. It has so many different cultures just within the state.
Well, it's weird when you get out to like West Texas, where like my parents and a lot of my family's from out farther out west. It's almost it's almost like a Western version of like Las Vegas or um what's like somewhere in Arizona or something like that. So it's like much more heavy like Western influence than it is Southern. Like you really see that difference out when you get out that way.
So I have to ask you, is there anything that you miss from Texas? I mean, you lived in Tennessee for a while now, but
Mhm.
is there anything that you're like, man, I really miss this from the people to the food to places?
Um,
What's the one thing you really miss?
most of the time, I just miss good barbecue. 'Cause don't get me wrong, Tennessee's got great pulled pork and ribs, but that's about it. And I'm a beef man. I like brisket.
Mm, that
um,
is one thing Texas instilled in me, a love for brisket,
oh yeah,
because I grew up mostly in Tennessee and love pork, love it, still love it. But when I moved to Texas, I really began to appreciate some good beef barbecue. It's
oh
fun.
yeah. Get a good beef brisket with a nice bark on the outside of it.
Oh yeah,
Delicious.
making me hungry now. All right, so speaking of food and things like that, we're going to play this game. How do you pronounce this word? All right, so this is the U.S. Culture Edition. We're gonna try to hear some regional dialects come out, and you and I, who both lived in Tennessee and Texas, we may not find a whole lot of differences, but it'll at least be fun to discuss them and maybe discuss people that do pronounce it differently. But what I'm going to do, Ryan, is I'm going to hold up a word and then I want you to just pronounce it the way that you pronounce it. There's no right or wrong here because a lot of these words are pronounced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways. So I want
Mm.
you to pronounce it how you pronounce it. I'll share how I pronounce it, and then we'll kind of talk about the differences and maybe make fun of them. We'll see, or maybe it will come to blows. Who knows?
You never
All right.
know.
So here's the first word, and this is a food.
Okay. Oh, there's only one correct way to say that,
Oh yeah.
and it's pecan.
All right. That's how I say it as well. Pecan.
I think I
Um,
saw an argument. I saw like a Facebook post that like was in like my suggested posts to look at on Facebook, and it was like people arguing about pecan versus pecan. And they were trying to the original poster was trying to say that like the correct Southern way to say it is pecan. And I was like, no, I don't know who you're talking to.
I don't get people that say pecan. I mean, there's only one E there,
Yeah.
right? There's not two E's. I mean, it's not like pecan. It's
Yep.
pecan.
Look,
A lot of people have problems with the con part of it because they're like CAN. Why is that con?
I mean, A's have long A sounds. Honestly, that's just the English language for you. A can have a multitude of sounds and just be a single A. But I always tell people whenever the conversation comes up about the correct way to pronounce that, I tell people I'm like, all right, one, I'm from Texas where the state tree is the pecan tree.
There you go.
And also, actually, I'm pretty sure that is. It's
I'll
like
fill the D.
I've been so far removed from it. I'm like, is it the same tree? I'm like, but also, I grew up, picking pecans out of my grandmother's yard. We had trees everywhere, just buckets and buckets of pecans.
Oh yeah. At seminary in Fort Worth, there's a bunch of pecans
Hmm.
everywhere, and the Koreans especially loved to pick those up. But mostly everybody I ever heard said it pecan and not pecan. But I remember I got into an argument with soldiers on my last deployment because we were arguing about how you pronounce pecan.
Oh my gosh.
And my chaplain's assistant actually swore up and down that it was pecan. He's like, it's pecan, it's pecan.
But where were they from, though?
He was from Georgia.
Oh, yeah. See, Georgia, people in Georgia, I don't know why they love to say pecan.
Yep. But I actually put we had a little whiteboard, and I wrote phonetically pecan, and I just put, how do you pronounce it, and put a marker there and just had people tally it. And we had like 30 people, but it was like 28-2 in favor of pecan. Like, all right.
Yep. No, you are in the minority.
Not pecan. I don't care if you're from Georgia.
Look, Georgia can tell us how to pronounce peaches, okay? Texas is in charge of pecans.
That's right. Get out of here, Georgia. All right. How about this word?
Oh, that one's a funny one. So I say crown, like almost like a crown that you put on your head. Yeah. How do you say it?
Crayon.
Okay. So that is the way my wife says it. And we talk about this all the time. I don't know what it is about that word. So when I took a dialect like test one time that was like, it could like pinpoint your dialect based on how you say different things. And I feel like I have a pretty neutral dialect for the most part. But that word in particular basically they were like, hey, because you said that word this way, we know that you are from like the Dallas area, essentially. So I don't know what it is about being from Dallas. It was like, yeah, you're either from like, Plano or Denton. And I was like, well, I'm in between those two. So pretty much. And so I don't know what it is about that area, but people just say crown for some reason.
We hear crown a lot here in Tennessee. In fact, my whole family, again, they like to put glasses on the edge of the table, drive me nuts. They also like to pronounce it crown. And so when I say crayon, it drives them nuts because it's almost like I'm putting too much emphasis on the word and making it more syllables than it needs to be. And they're like, no, it's just crown.
What about those people that say crayon? Like really overpronounced.
Really like crayon.
Yeah.
There are people out there who say crayon.
Yeah, crayon.
Just crayon. And I'm like, no, it's not crayon. So interesting one. I'm gonna move on because we got a few more of these. How about this word?
Interchangeable. I go between aunt and aunt. It just depends on the conversation, I guess.
What's funny is I am the exact same way.
Oh, okay.
not that I'm the one who's right. But
well, like we both say it the same way. That means we're both right. That's how that works.
That's right. It's like I grew up saying aunt because that's what everybody said. I mostly have lived in the South, but moved around a lot. But I would hear people say, yeah, your aunt did this or your aunt did that. And so it just became aunt. And then as I got older, I realized that's not ant, like a bug, it's aunt. And so I think I trained my brain to start saying aunt. And so most of the time, if I'm thinking about it, I'll say aunt or your aunt. But every once in a while, the Southern old way slips back in. And I'm like, yeah, your aunt. Tell your Aunt Bessie. Quit messing with me.
Yeah.
I smell heaven's bakery cooking up something good for you, sister.
Yeah, Aunt Bessie's cooking up something good for you.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that I feel like I've just heard too many people, like, I don't know if it's just I've been around too many people that say aunt. So, like, over time, it just kind of leaked into my way I pronounce it. But honestly, it depends where I'm at, who I'm with. One of those weird words.
I have a lot of family that live in the Northeast, especially around Boston.
And
most of them say aunt instead of aunt. And so I have also caught myself as I'm up there visiting around them saying aunt instead of aunt, especially because I have a lot of aunts that live up in that area. So.
People in Boston, they love their long A's.
They also like to say auntie a lot. So they like to add an IE to the word. Yeah, your auntie. Like, okay. It's an ant. By the way,
There's my aunt.
If you're listening to this on Spotify, I'm sorry you can't see the words. I just now realized that I'm holding up. But you can at least hear us pronounce them. So whenever they're pronounced, you know what word we're talking about. So just use your imagination. I'm holding up a little sign. So here's the next one.
Oh, that's another interchangeable one. And this is due to my time as a barista for several years working at Starbucks.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to hear this.
So it would just depend on the way the person said it when they ordered something. I would say it the same way back, and it was either caramel or caramel.
Oh, interesting. So another interchangeable one
Mm-hmm.
for Ryan there. This one probably causes the biggest friction in my house. We come to blows because I say caramel. It's almost the same as when I say crayon. The rest of my family says caramel. And they're like, no, it's caramel. I'm like, well, there is another A in it. I'm not pronouncing that other A, but
people just ignore it.
Yeah.
It's
just
kind of
throw that A away.
Oh yeah.
Aunt Bessie.
Isn't there a Mount Carmel, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of churches named Mount Carmel.
Like CARMEL.
Oh, okay.
So it's not caramel, like the delicious treat.
Interesting.
Anyway, so Grant really should have been here for this one because he probably could have told us how it is pronounced. But how do you pronounce this?
No. Organ.
Organ. So like the instrument?
Yeah. Or the bodily part.
Yep. I'm an organ donor. By the way, I went to the DMV yesterday and had a great experience. So just letting you know out there, sometimes you can have good experiences at the DMV. It might be rare, but I just wanted to say Clarksville DMV, shout out to you. You guys really did fantastic yesterday. And I know we always complain about the DMVs, but I just wanted to say an encouraging word about the DMVs. All right, anyway. I say it Oregon. So like Oregon.
Okay.
But I know some people say Oregon.
Yes. Oregon. I probably, if I were pronouncing it slowly, I'd probably say Oregon, but I don't think I've ever said Oregon.
Now, what about the state that has Las Vegas? How do you pronounce that state?
Nevada.
Yep. It is Nevada. So I used to say Nevada for the longest time. And this was one of the things I learned in God's great diverse kingdom as I spent some time out in Nevada doing some revivals out there when I was in seminary. And I remember saying one of the first times I got up to speak, it's fun to be out here in Nevada. And quickly I was corrected. No, it is Nevada. So ever since then, I've pronounced it Nevada because that's the way that people in Nevada pronounce it.
See, for the most part, I think that is a good method to go about pronouncing things. But also, I look at there's several places around this area in the South that are named after things from Europe that they just pronounce incorrectly. I don't know why people just don't want to pronounce it correctly. The big one is Louisville, which is named after King Louis, not Louisville or
Louisville.
Or some people say Louisville, which is funny because there actually is a Louisville in Texas, but it's actually spelled like Lewis, which makes a little more sense. But yeah, whenever people say that, I'm like, no, Louisville. It's a Louisville Slugger. It's named after King Louis.
Right.
The other one is so when I drive from Texas to Clarksville, instead of going to Nashville and then coming back northwest a little bit to Clarksville, I just cut straight through. And one of the towns that you drive through after you get through Jackson, I believe, is Milan, Tennessee. which I used to always think was Milan, Tennessee, because I wanted to believe that people wanted to, have some class and pronounce it in a nice way. But then I've met multiple people that are like, "No, it's Milan, Tennessee." I'm like, "Why?" I was trying to do you a favor, please.
I love it.
America!
Oh yeah.
My dad had one of the most original dad jokes back in like the 80s. He would say, "What is the capital of Kentucky? Is it Louisville or Louisville?" And we'd always be like, "Oh, it's Louisville." And he'd be like, "No, it's Frankfurt."
It's good.
Throw you off. So, yeah, it's a good dad joke for anybody that needs a good dad joke out there. We're missing Grant today. Thanks, Ethan. Yeah, we'll throw some more out there. All right, what about this
word? Pajamas.
So it's a jam.
Yes.
I think I say pajamas.
That might be one of those ones
not
that
that I have a
sometimes I'll
problem
say
with
like one way or the other, just depending on how I'm feeling at the moment, I guess.
Yeah. I don't really have a problem with that word either way. That's not one of those that I'm going to like fight somebody over. Pajamas. One, because I hardly ever use that word. I don't wear pajamas or pajamas. But, if you do, great.
Yeah. We live in Tennessee where pajamas are a t-shirt and athletic shorts.
That's right. Or nothing.
Or nothing, yeah. It's hot and humid here in the summer.
That's right. Speaking of doing central things with our okay. All right, this is a fun one because I find myself pronouncing this one differently depending on how I'm using it.
So, if I'm eating food, I'm going to go eat some Caribbean food. If I'm watching a movie, I'm going to watch Pirates of the Caribbean.
That is exactly what I do. Yeah, Stephanie and I went on a cruise a few years ago in the Caribbean, and that's how we said it. We said Caribbean cruise. But if I'm watching Pirates of the Caribbean, then I'm going to say Caribbean.
And I don't know if that's just because that's the way that movie is said, like that's the way that it's said in all the marketing and stuff, so it just ingrained it into me. But if I'm talking about the movie, I'm always going to say Caribbean.
I think too because it has an I in it, So I want to say Caribbean because of the I, but Pirates of the Caribbean, it's Caribbean in that movie. So I don't know. All right, here's a good one. How do you pronounce this word? Because this is hotly contested online.
Oh, that's GIF.
All right, so
and
GIF.
I will fight people about the pronunciation of that.
And I think I just have a lot of fun, like poking around military bases, making grown men scream.
Talking about something that'll make grown men scream.
To be honest, I have not done the research. You think I would have because I came up with this game. But there are all these people that say, well, the guy who created it pronounces it GIF instead of GIF. But I'm here to tell you that I don't care how the guy that created it pronounces it. GIF is peanut butter.
Yeah.
GIF is how you pronounce it. It is a GIF, not a GIF. My name is Jeff.
So in my time, like, just being on the internet and then also working in, the IT and tech industry and stuff like that, anytime I run into people who say GIF, they're always the most insufferable people. So I think it's just, if you're a normal person that doesn't want to act like you're better than people, say GIF. Say GIF like the rest of us.
If you say GIF, then you pour your milk before you pour your cereal. You're one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom goes to college. Yeah. Get out of here with your GIF. We need your GIF. All right, what about this word?
A roof.
Okay, that's how I say it too. I mean, it's the roof is on fire. It's not the roof. The roof. The roof.
My dad would say rough.
Roof.
So my dad used to always look at the dog and be like, "Hey, what's on top of the house?" And roof.
Now that's a funny joke. I might pronounce it that way if I was using that joke.
Mm.
Okay. Now this isn't how you pronounce it. This is what do you call it? So what is the normal way, like if somebody were to give you one of these, what would you call it? Not particularly the brand per se, but any brand, what would you call this?
Coke.
Okay. So even if it was a Dr. Pepper, would you call it a Coke?
If it was, I'd probably say Dr. Pepper.
Texas.
Yeah, but but if I'm just like if I'm at a place where I don't know what specific brands they have, I'm gonna say, "Hey, give me a Coke."
Yeah. So if you go to a place to get something to drink, you're gonna ask them what kind of Cokes do you have?
Yeah. Be like, "Hey, what brand of Cokes you got?"
So you don't ever use the term soft drinks?
No.
That's kind of a lame word. Your selection of soft drinks.
Yeah.
What kind of soft drinks do you have, baby? Yeah, I will use the word soda. Sometimes I'll use the word Coke too.
Soda, yeah, that'd be fine, but never pop.
Yeah, pop. I guess is like if you live in like Minnesota or Wisconsin.
My wife's family is like from Chicago area, so they say
Okay.
pop.
So they say, yeah, what kind of pop you got? So not everybody says it this way in the Northeast, but I mentioned how I have family in and around the Boston area. And my uncle, I still remember this story. He came down from Massachusetts one summer when we were young, and we went on. It was actually when we lived in Clarksville, and we went on the Queen of Clarksville boat ride,
Oh,
which was very
fancy, yeah.
So if you're ever looking for a good time, I don't even know if they still have it, but if they do, yeah.
Because it's a 931, baby.
But anyways, we went on that, and there was a snack bar. And my uncle went up to this poor, like, 17-year-old girl that was working at the snack bar. And he said, yeah, what kind of tonics do you got? And she was confused as all get out. Like,
understandably, yeah.
tonics? Like, what do we have in here? And he meant soda. I mean, he was talking about soda.
This look like an apothecary to you? What is it?
Yeah. She's like, we don't serve alcohol.
That's like people like, some people say soda water, and when they mean just like a regular soda, and that makes more sense than tonic, even though they're, I guess, technically the same thing. Like when you think about it, but
he is honestly the only person I've ever heard call it tonic. And so I just assumed that was like a northern thing. I know they say like pop even up there, or soda pop.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times. So they just go and like say like the entire thing.
Soda pop. Big fresh can of soda pop.
And we do call you the soda sommelier
That's true.
instead of the Coke. But if you're listening to this and you're not from the South, just know that a lot of people in the South call it Coke. So they may say, I want a Coke. It doesn't mean they literally want a Coca-Cola. It just means that they want a soda or a pop or a tonic or whatever you call it.
I will say though that if you're in the South and somebody says, "Hey, I want a Coke," they do not want a Pepsi.
That is true. Pepsi is the devil.
Not to add confusion in there, but we never mean Pepsi. Sometimes Dr. Pepper. Sometimes Dr. Pepper, sometimes off-brand Coke soda, but never Pepsi.
Coke, Dr. Pepper, understandable. Mountain Dew, okay, but you might be a little loopy. Yeah, never Pepsi. I mean, RC over Pepsi. Diet Right over Pepsi.
I haven't had a Diet Right in years.
Diet Right. Oh, yeah. So funny. It's funny how we've attributed the brand to what we call it. And, I could see how people in Georgia especially might call everything Coke because they have the Coca-Cola factory down in Atlanta. But we do that a lot, like with Kleenex. I mean, I say Kleenex a lot of times.
Yeah,
when I need to teach you. Like,
I don't say
Kleenex.
tissue.
Yep. I know people over in the UK will call vacuums hoovers. So they will say, yeah, and they'll actually use that as a verb, like I'm hoovering, or I'm going to go hoover. But they actually mean vacuum. So again, a brand has become sort of the word.
See, I just think of J. Edgar Hoover when I hear Hoover.
Yeah, I'll go hoovering. Dig into his past a little bit.
And go illegally spy on people.
Yeah, don't do that. So, we're so glad that you've joined us today. We have gone way longer than we thought. Before we started this, we said like 15 or 20 minutes. We're about to hit 50 minutes. So maybe we should have said 50 or 20 minutes.
Right.
But, it's been fun conversation. And if anything, this hopefully is something just to give you a little bit of some dude facts to get through your week. And hopefully we are a part of you having a good week. And if anything, want to encourage you as you have questions about your faith and are challenged in it, and you hear us talk about things here on the podcast, that is our MO. I mean, we love to talk about the faith and what it means to us and answer those questions and discuss those things. So tonight I say tonight because we recorded this at night, we were going to talk about church invitations or altar calls. So that is going to be on hold because we want the whole gang to be together to discuss that. So when Josh and Grant get back, we'll have that discussion. But in the meantime, if you have thoughts on anything that we've talked about tonight, from women's soccer to the farting preacher to regional dialects to the way that you pronounce pecan or pecans or cokes or whatever, please drop us a dollop. And we'll read your comments here on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Any last words, Ryan?
No. I hope it's been fun for everybody listening. Hope you stuck around.
I've had fun, and hopefully you have too. And keep checking out our social media throughout the week for little fun dollops that we're going to drop on you.
I smell heaven's bakery cooking up something good for you, sister.
Amen.
I need to play that for my wife next time she makes food.
On that note, have a great week.